How's it going, Mets fans? Welcome back, Talking Mets with Rob. Instant reaction to the George Springer signing to the Blue Jays for 6 years, $150 million, $25 million a year. So we didn't get our center fielder. So what does that mean for the New York Mets? Well, apparently we don't really know because there hasn't really been much movement in the center field market besides George Springer as of recently, and all the tweets that went on yesterday from Joel Sherman, Ken Rosenthal, John Heyman, and like five or six different reporters from Toronto and Canada was putting all these mixed messages in. The Blue Jays are signing Springer pending physical. The Mets are still pushing to sign Springer. So many different things going on, but at the end, Springer chose the Blue Jays. The Mets offer was 6 years, 125, between 120 and 125. That was reported by Mark Feinstein. And, you know, I'm disappointed because if you look at the Mets offseason, even though they got players and it's been a good offseason so far, they basically went with every plan B free agent. JT Realmuto is the top of the class at catcher. Say A. The Mets went and got James McCann, which is B. So what is very frustrating with Sandy Alderson, and I totally believe that this is all about Sandy Alderson penny pinching, even when he doesn't have to. I know there's a budget. Every owner, every team has a budget, no matter how rich the owner is. But it's ridiculous to think that Sandy Alderson said in the press conference when we signed James McCann that there was offers out for James McCann and he was willing to sign early. That's the reason why you don't go after JT Realmuto. When JT Realmuto's teams or people who are going after them is one team right now. It is the Philadelphia Phillies. So they really didn't have to bid against anybody because there was a report that the Phillies made about a 5-year deal for $100 million. That is not unreasonable for one of the best for the best catcher in baseball, offensively and defensively. So the reason why you don't sign JT Realmuto is because James McCann was willing to sign early when James McCann and Realmuto is not on the same level at all. And then this whole thing with Springer, we needed a center fielder. That was a big need. Nimmo is not a center fielder. I like Nimmo, but he is not a center fielder. He is a corner outfielder. Too many Met fans are in love with Brandon Nimmo. Too many Met fans say, oh, that's too much money for Springer. Is it too much money to put us over the top? Springer has been a clutch player with the Houston Astros in the playoffs in big games. He's a really good center fielder. And when Steve Cohen talks about a 3 to 5 year window, that 3 to 5 year window is probably when Springer can still be a center fielder between those next couple of years. So what are we really trying to gain out of this? A World Series championship, right? But keep on going to plan B. And Sandy Alderson always did this. He always, even with money or no money, he always went to plan B. You've seen it in 2015. Even though it worked out with Cespedes, what was his options? What was his plan A? His plan B? His plan A was Justin Upton. His plan B was Jay Bruce. Then when they fell off the table and they weren't going to make those deals because the teams didn't want to trade him, he went to plan C because there was no other option. And he got Cespedes. Even when you watch 5 Days in Flushing, he spoke about that there was some problem with trying to get Cespedes because they didn't think that he would fit this Mets team in 2015. So Sandy Alderson has a track record of going to plan B and plan C and penny pinching even when he doesn't have to. Yes, we kind of be like, oh, Sandy Alderson couldn't do it in years past because he had the Wilpons as cheap as they were. There was no reason, even with the budget. Even if you'd have went $25 million for Springer, yeah, it would have hindered us probably a little bit from getting Hand. But think of it this way. The Blue Jays just made an offer a few hours ago to Brad Hand. So they're aggressive. Now, you can say, oh, the Mets had a limit with Springer and they didn't want to go any further. Fine. But there's needs on his team. And we went to plan B with some needs. And when we needed to be aggressive and go after our needs, we did not. We needed a catcher. Great. We understand that. But the best catcher in baseball only costs money. Yes, we have Ali Sanchez in the minors, but he's a few years away. That 3 to 5 year window, are we guaranteed Ali Sanchez is going to be here in 3 years? Now, that's if he develops to what he's going to develop and how he should be developing. Is he going to get to that level that everybody expects him to or not? We don't know. So, if you're going to have this 3 to 5 year window, and let's be honest, it's probably a 3 year window. And why do I say that? The reason why I say that is because you got DeGrom, you got Carlos Carrasco. They're already in their 31, 32, 33, 34 year of age. So you got Carlos Carrasco and Jacob DeGrom that are in their 30s already. That Jacob DeGrom probably has 2 to 3 years great Cy Young years left. And Carlos Carrasco maybe got 1 or 2 dominant years left as a number 2. I mean, if you're going to look at a window of when this Mets could have took advantage of the division that is a Washington Nationals team that's gotten older with their players when it comes to Scherzer and Strasburg, we don't know about his injuries. Corbin wasn't as good last year. And then, who do they really have around them? They got Juan Soto. That's basically it. And they got Trey Turner. They don't have a really dominant team. They have no bullpen. And then the Phillies, we don't know what the Phillies are really going to do. If they bring back JT Realmuto, that's basically the team that they had the last couple of years. They haven't performed well, and they still don't have a really good bullpen, even though they made a deal for a really good reliever. And the Marlins are the Marlins. So we know the Braves are the elite of the division right now. The Mets are right behind them. They're not at their level, but they're definitely behind them. Number 2, why wouldn't you go after Springer and put on, because I guarantee if you would have said, George, listen, Springer, let's go. Here, we're going to match the Blue Jays offer. Take it or leave it. Pick your team. Would the Blue Jays win another $25 million to get their guy? I don't think so. I don't think they were going to give 6 for 175. So if the Mets would have matched that, they would have probably had Springer as their center fielder. Now, what do we have to look at? We have Jackie Bradley Jr., who, again, we talked about this in other episodes. Another left-handed batter. Yes, he's a great center fielder. He can play really well. But when he's batting 210 in the middle of June, you're going to start, oh, man, wow, we should have got Springer. Yeah, he might catch every ball in the center field, but when he comes up in a big spot and strikes out or grounds out to the first baseman, I don't want to hear nobody complain because that's the issue. Some Met fans, they were all over Springer. Oh, we got to get Springer. We got to get Springer. And then when he went to the Blue Jays, oh, he's not that good anyway. He's a cheater. Guys, come on. He was one of the best players on Houston last year in the 60-game season. Look how clutch he was for that team. He was the only one hitting on that team. It's really frustrating that Sandy Alderson is doing what Sandy Alderson has done in the past and is doing now. Yes, we got Lindor, we got Carrasco, but that was a trade, okay? Right now, it's a 1-year rental for Francisco Lindor. And even Sandy said it himself, we are comfortable if Lindor leaves if this is a 1-year thing with Lindor. Really? That's what you're saying? Here's my other issue that I have. Getting Lindor, one of the best players, top 5 players in baseball, is excellent, is great. But was that a direct need to improve a position? Especially when you have Jimenez under control for 5 years. Rosario under control for 3 more years. Now, I know a lot of us fell out of favor with Rosario, but at the end of the day, it wasn't so much of a need because Jimenez was there too, just in case if Rosario couldn't do what we expected him to do. So we made a trade to fill a position that we had 2 shortstops in the on the roster. So it's kind of frustrating. It's like, okay, we're gonna make a trade. Yes, to fill the gap in the rotation, great. But Carrasco is 34 years old. How long is he gonna be good for? Maybe 2 more years. So there's your window again. 2-3 years. DeGrom, 2-3 years of great Cy Young pitching. So you have that period where Springer can be a center fielder for 2 to 3 years, and then eventually go to the corner outfielders. Then you can say, okay, if we sign Springer, we probably can't sign Conforto. Why not? Who cares if the luxury tax is we're going to go over if we sign our guys? Isn't the whole point of signing our guys? Wouldn't you want that 2 to 3 year window when we got everybody we needed to fill a spot that was a necessity? No. What did Sandy Alderson do? Because James McCann, right, was signed by Sandy Alderson because we didn't have a GM yet, right? So why did Sandy Alderson go to Plan B when he did not have to? Why couldn't you? Did he get scared thinking that more teams would have to bid for JT Realmuto and they didn't want to go up to a certain point? So you give James McCann 4 years, $40 million, who is much lower of a catcher than JT Realmuto, just to save a few dollars, and then you go to Plan B with James McCann. So Plan A seemed like it was never an option for the Mets. Why couldn't all offseason before any trade or free agents signed or anything like that? What was all the reporters talking about? What was everybody talking about? The Mets are going to get 2 of the 3 big time players on the market. That was including Lindor, that was Realmuto, that was Springer, that was Bauer also. Those guys. We've got, who do we get? 1. And that was a trade. And there's no guarantee that we're going to extend Lindor. So we're not getting Realmuto because we got James McCann. Plan B. We didn't get Springer. So now we have to go to Plan B. Is that a Jackie Bradley Jr.? Is that a Kevin Kiermaier? Is it Amara Jr.? Okay, what are they? Plan B and Plan C guys. I'm really frustrated because this was the time when the Mets could have took advantage of the market. Basically, this is another time where the Mets were bidding against one other team. With James McCann, it was one other team. It was the Angels. With Springer, it was only the Blue Jays. They only had a bid against one more team. They weren't bidding against 3 or 4 other teams where every time they put in an offer, somebody raised the offer. We had the opportunity to get one of the best center fielders in the game right now, offensively and defensively. At least for 3 more years, he could probably play center field. Isn't that the window we're talking about? I just, we talk about the Springer Conforto comparison when it comes to extension with Conforto, but I don't think that's much of what the Mets were thinking. I just think Sandy Alderson pinch pennies. That's what he does. He did it with Oakland. He did it with the Mets when the Wilpons were own the team, and now he's doing it again. That's what he's doing. Just because he's spending a little bit more than he did in the past when he was with the Wilpons when they owned him, doesn't mean that he's spending more. I mean, if you really think about it, he hasn't spent that much. He really hasn't. 40 million, 16 million. And then we had Lindor, which is 22 million when it came to arbitration. But again, how much is that? Cano's contract is off the books. So that knocks out Lindor's contract already. What is it? 2 million we're basically paying Lindor because of the Cano contract that's off the books this year. So what did they really spend big on? They haven't spent big on anything. The best move that I like is the Trevor May signing. And what does that tell you? That tells you the New York Mets and Sandy Alderson went to Plan B. And just remember, as much as we all praise Sandy Alderson, I really think that as much as James Porter really screwed himself and He did a despicable thing in harassing and sexually harassing that woman via text. I think Porter was very aggressive into getting Lindor and Carrasco. I think that was a Porter acquisition. I don't think that was a Sandy Alderson direct position, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. But if you look at everything with the Trevor May signing and the James McCann signing, that's a Sandy Alderson type of move. Now, I like the Trevor May signing, but it doesn't look good with Brad Hand right now. It seems like, the Blue Jays are offered him a contract. I don't know what it is yet. I haven't seen anything yet, but it'll probably pop up soon. But it just seems like, we're not bargain basement shopping. We're basically, we're in a gourmet shopping grocery store, but we're still trying to find the best the discounts in the aisles. That's what we're doing. We're not getting the gourmet meats. We're gonna get the store brand meats. We're not in the dollar store anymore. Maybe got to pay $5 for these players instead of the $10 in that gourmet section. So it's like it's frustrating. I know you're frustrated. I'm frustrated. I think it's unnecessary for Sandy Alderson to be pinching pennies when there's a direct need in center field. And that need could have been filled very easily with Springer. If you got Springer and then, we probably couldn't get a Hand, I wouldn't be too mad about that because there's other ways to go around it. There's other ways to look into who we can get and who we can use. Maybe we can plug in Zamora. We have Blevins on a minor league deal. We have Tarpley that we signed on a minor league deal also. So there's guys out there. They're not dominant pitchers. I get that. But, there's ways that you can bolster this bullpen. There's other pitchers we can do. Yes, and a lefty Hand would be great. But at the end of the day, the biggest need that we talked about in the offseason before the free agents ever signed was catcher and center field. That was the big ones. At catcher, we went automatically to plan B. It seemed like it wasn't even an option to go after JT Realmuto. Sandy was like, so JT, we're gonna give you an offer. You're gonna sign? No, we're gonna wait. Okay, whatever. All right, hey James, here's 4 years, $40 million. Let's go. You said you want to sign early, and that's what happened. So they didn't give the opportunity for any JT Realmuto market to develop. All they did was sign James McCann because it was a quicker option. I just don't get that. You got the best catcher on the market in JT Realmuto. Use it. Use it to your advantage. Get him. But we didn't. We got James McCann. Okay, James McCann can be good, and we know he's good defensively, but we really don't know what he can be with the bat. He had, a year and a half of good years, the last year and a half? That's it. So we don't really know. And, he was DFA'd in Detroit. So it's frustrating. Now it's hopefully the Mets can just focus on maybe getting Jackie Bradley Jr., which I'm not excited about, and Brad Hand, and use that package as a way to, fill out this roster. Get a pretty good defensive center fielder. Get Brad Hand, who's a dominant closer, and can also pitch the 8th and the 7th inning also. And another depth piece in the rotation. So that's what I'm thinking, guys. It sucks. Last night we got bad news with Springer. I really wanted him. I really think Springer could have just made this lineup a really potent lineup. Even though we got really good guys in the lineup with Lindor, Alonso, McNeil, Conforto, we have a good team. But I think Springer would have put us over the top in the next couple of years in the lineup and defensively. So I want to thank you guys for listening and watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Let's go Mets.